Today we're talking about a movie that is so bad it has become infamous. It's one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history, a movie that only made back 10% of its budget. It stars Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. Today we're talking about Gigli.
Beneath a rugged exterior, Larry Gigli was a nice guy.
Are you?
You know me, I'm gonna be fine.
Putting on a good show.
That's professional.
He's just been given his big break.
There's a certain witness with psychological defects, and I want him held on to.
Welcome to Big Name Bad Movie, the show where we talk about A-list actors and their worst films. I am your host, Cameron, and joining me as always is my co-host, Joe.
Let's give the TLDR on Gigli a little bit. The movie starring Ben Affleck and J-Lo centers around a mafia enforcer named Larry Gigli, who is tasked with kidnapping a developmentally disabled individual and holding him hostage. And in the process of doing so, he falls in love with Jennifer Lopez. And there's a lot more we got to get into when we break down the plot.
Yeah, that's the gist of it, though. So this movie is famously bad, which neither of us had ever seen it. I remember as a kid seeing trailers for this movie, like, because I love Daredevil, even though it's like a terrible movie overall. I loved it as a kid, and like I saw the trailer for this movie like right after that because they came out the same year, and I was like, oh dude, it's Ben Affleck, that's my guy, you know. He also has, I mean, this has been done to death, but he has the worst back tattoo I've ever seen.
I've never seen his back tattoo.
Oh dude, okay, this is like an iconically terrible tattoo. I don't know if he's gotten it removed since this picture, but this is like a picture that somebody took on the beach of him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just this. You got it. It's all good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that a phoenix?
It's a phoenix, among other things, I think.
And a dragon?
Yeah.
This looks like one of those shirts from the early 2000s that has like flames on it. This looks like a shirt that Guy Fieri would wear.
Yes. Yeah.
This
like
is
Ed Hardy
crazy.
type shit. Yeah. One of the most iconic back tattoos.
He
I've
has
ever
one of the
seen.
most iconic bad tattoos and one of the most iconic bad movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
This
two
is
for
like
two.
famously like one of the, like people regard it as one of the worst movies of all time. I don't know that I would go that far. You know,
It's pretty darn close though.
because I mean we've probably seen movies that are worse on this broadcast. You know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
This movie's obviously been talked about to death, but we're going to put our own spin on it because I think we've noticed a few things that people kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
And I really want to break this one down. We open with Larry Gigli. He's our hero, played by, hero is a loose term.
Anti-hero.
Anti-hero, maybe?
Yeah.
Played by Ben Affleck. He's a low-level mob enforcer. And he says very early on in the movie, he says it's pronounced Gigli, like really, but
Not
spelled
Gigli.
Not Gigli, like I thought. Lewis is Larry's boss. I don't know who plays this guy, but he was good.
He was good. Dude, he could be
In
like,
Sopranos?
Yeah, he could be he could be one of the characters who's in Sopranos for a season and dies by the end, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. He's really hamming it up as a mob boss. He's got the thick New Jersey accent.
Come on over
Yeah, man.
here. Come on.
He's like a higher ranking underboss in the criminal organization. Lewis has cooked up a scheme for Larry, and the scheme is that apparently there's a man named Starkman. He's a mob boss up in New York City, and Starkman has somebody who's been giving him some trouble. He's possibly facing prison time. We don't know what the situation is, but this person who's giving the mob boss trouble, Lewis is like, hey, why don't you go kidnap his younger brother? We'll hold him hostage, and that'll get this guy off of our boss's back.
Yeah.
So Larry's like, okay, and Lewis clarifies that the younger brother is a person with special needs.
Yes. Played by Justin Bartha of National Treasure fame.
God, I love National Treasure.
I mean, that movie is significantally better, yes, than this.
If we're grading this on the National Treasure curve, let's just say this movie's not a treasure.
Yeah, no, it's not. Not a national or local treasure.
Not even slightly. And so right off the rip, I'm like, this premise kind of rules.
Yeah,
We're gonna hold
what could go wrong? I'm sure that they will handle this in a very tactful and thoughtful way in the year of our Lord 2003.
Larry shows up to the facility where Brian, the younger brother with special needs, lives. Larry's there to kidnap Brian.
All right, look. Me and you, we're supposed to go for a quick walk. You ready?
How would you describe Justin Bartha's performance as a man with special needs?
Man, you know, I'm of the belief, and you can disagree with me if you want, but I feel like it's very hard to do It's very difficult, near impossible, to do a tasteful like performance as a person with special needs if you yourself are not special needs. You know, I mean, I look at like a movie like Peanut Butter Falcon, where they actually have an actor with Down syndrome, and that movie, you know, it's not a perfect movie or anything, and we won't get into it, but I think that's a good example of like good representation. You know, that being said, yeah, I mean, his performance is a caricature of a person with special needs. It's really bad.
They're sunflower seeds.
That's the same thing. So we just call them poly seeds when I was a kid.
You must be the stupidest person, you pisser fucker.
I fully agree, with the exception of I think there's a couple standout roles in the past that where an actor who doesn't have special needs really brings realness to a role of a person with special needs. Namely, Rain Man is a perfect example. Dustin Hoffman.
American Flight 625 crashed April 27th, 1976.
This performance from Justin Bartha is not Dustin Hoffman level. In fact, it feels like he never met a person with special needs. Mm-hmm. He saw Rain Man on VHS when he was 12 and decided to do his worst impression of it.
Just take it easy, take it easy.
Oh, no.
It's almost over.
Come on.
Yeah.
It feels like a community theater performance of Rain Man.
Your dog used to be dog at Pittsburgh.
It's clear that Justin Bartha is like trying to emulate what Dustin Hoffman does in that movie,
Yeah.
like in terms of tics and mannerisms, but it falls completely flat. It becomes...
To say it is cringeworthy, to say that I cringed watching his performance is an understatement. Like, my God.
It's laughable at first, and then it becomes so uncomfortable that it's not even funny anymore.
Yeah, because, you know, as a mobster guy, Larry Gigli is not necessarily the most prepared to handle a person with special needs, to interact with them in like a positive way.
Normal!
So since Larry's there to kidnap Brian, he quickly finds out that Brian is really into the show Baywatch. And this is going to become a common theme throughout the entire movie.
Well, that's how he gets him out. He's like, I want to go to Baywatch. And not the show. He's like, I want to go to Baywatch because he thinks that that's like
a real place.
A real place. Okay. It's like a beach probably, right? So that's how Larry gets him out of the facility in the first place.
He's like, yeah, we're going to go to the Baywatch. And Brian's like, sweet, let's go. And so Brian and Larry get in the car, and truly Larry's just taking Brian to his apartment to like hide him.
Yeah.
So Larry brings Brian back to the apartment. After they've spent a little bit of time together, they hear a knock at the door, open it up, and J-Lo's standing there. She plays a woman named Ricky, and at first she looks at Larry and she's like,
hi.
He immediately is like, I want to this broad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He is horned up for J-Lo.
Like, he says something along the lines of like,
how'd I get so lucky or something?
Dinner and a show, or is it like, it doesn't say that. He definitely doesn't say that, but it's like, I get this job, I'm making it big, I'm a made man, and I'm going to get to this girl. Yeah.
She pulls Larry aside and she's like, hey, your boss Lewis hired me to babysit you because he doesn't trust you to keep this hostage, meaning Brian, the person with special needs.
And every line that she delivers is like, your boss doesn't trust you. I'm here to watch you. Like, just very like hypersexual.
I'll tell you this. You leave him alone or I'll kill you.
Her dialogue delivery is slippery.
You remember the scene in Breaking Bad where Skylar is singing the Happy Birthday, Mr. President song?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
It's exactly.
That's what J-Lo feels like for this entire movie.
Example, yeah. That
and
is
you're just,
her performance.
You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
And I guess she's supposed to be like an object of desire for Larry.
Yeah. But I think it's a detriment to her, like, as a real, like, fully realized character. Like, to just, like, there's like a will they, won't they the whole time. But, you know, she's doing that, but also simultaneously being like, no, I fucking hate you.
Yeah, it's just
I fucking hate you. I love you.
Mixed messages.
You're so disgusting. I want to take you in the bedroom.
So then Larry calls Lewis to confirm this, and Lewis confirms like, yeah, buddy, I don't trust you. I sent this broad over to watch over you, and you watch over her too, and you guys keep each other accountable. This is
maybe kiss a little. I don't know.
I don't know. Make a baby or something. I don't know.
I think he actually explicitly says, don't, you know,
get involved romantically.
Yeah.
But of course, Larry clearly has different ideas.
Yeah.
Because they cut to a shot of J-Lo like bent over doing something in Larry's apartment. She makes herself at home very quickly.
Well, she lays out a mat for herself. When I was watching this with my wife, she lays out the mat and she's like, oh, she's turning towards Mecca. I guess they're going to make her a Muslim. I was like, I highly doubt this movie like wants to, I don't think this movie is on the cutting edge of not being Islamophobic.
It's kind of every other phobic.
Yeah.
This movie ticks all the phobic boxes.
Yeah.
As Ricky is laying out this mat to pray to Mecca, they have an over-the-shoulder shot of Ben Affleck's character Larry just looking at her butt crack, and they've like perfectly lit it to highlight her butt crack.
Yeah.
And
you're right. It is perfectly lit. Her cheeks are glistening.
Cheeks are glistening in the moonlight. And I love that. I'm going to do this to camera. I love that Larry's just standing there like,
dude, it is
just perfect.
Egregious. Yeah. And this is after, like, they're having this like little cute back and forth banter at this point.
Yeah.
This is after the fact that he has called the brother with like the kid with special needs. He's already called him the R word and a bunch of other expletives in front of this girl.
He's like calling him a dumbass.
Yeah,
He's
it's just like, you're being so like insensitive to this situation. Like, I know he's definitely not prepared as a man in the early 2000s, but like, to me, as a woman, that would probably give me the ick.
I'm just gonna say,
I wouldn't exactly be like interacting with him in like a cordial way at that point.
Hot take here: verbal abuse of a person with special needs, kind of a turnoff.
Yeah.
Listen to me, you little fucking retard.
He's like, why don't we share a bed? Why don't you just sleep in my bed? And she's like, okay. He's like, professionally speaking, of course. And she's like, yeah, professionally. Let's share a bed. Mm-hmm. They go to the bedroom. She's laying down. She's reading her book. She's always reading a book. You know what I mean? She's very like, it's like her only characterization in the film is that she's a smart woman. That's like, this is like a dumb person's version, or like an ignorant man's version of like, this is like what a smart woman does. She reads.
We'll keep going with this theme, but you're right. That is like the first theme of that.
Larry's in the bathroom mirror.
Yeah.
And he has this awesome monologue where he's wearing just like a beater.
Yep.
And like he's got like his tattooed arms out.
Yeah.
And he's like prepping to go in the bedroom and like try to get it on with Ricky.
He's like, I'm a professional. I'm a professional.
Larry comes out of the bathroom after hyping himself up, and he kind of slinks over on the bed to Ricky, and he's like, hey, and he starts kind of nuzzling against her while she's reading.
So he's in the bed, he's putting the moves on. He manages to like get his lips onto her lips. Like he kisses this woman, and she backs off like, hold up.
It feels like when Ted Cruz is kissing his daughter.
Let's hop out of the way. We're taking her.
Good job.
Larry, aka Ted Cruz, is like putting the moves on this woman, and she says, "Wait, you're not exactly my type." And he's like, "What do you mean? I'm everyone's type." She's like, "I mean, you have a penis." J-Lo's character Ricky is gay. That's what she reveals to him. And it's at this point in the movie that my jaw dropped, because I know that this is a romantic comedy, and I'm like, are they really gonna go there? Are they really gonna do the thing of like him turning her straight? Really? Yes. That is what the movie is.
This movie is billed as a romantic
Spoilers,
comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in disbelief that was the direction they were going with this movie.
Yeah, but at this point, I think Larry kind of resigns to like, okay, well, she's not going to get it on with me at least tonight.
Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah. She reveals that she is gay, and he said, you know what? We'll give it time.
We'll give it some time. Let it simmer.
He's right, to be fair.
Let it simmer.
Let me cook.
It's a phase. It's a phase.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
The next day, they're like in the apartment, and they hear a knock at the door. Larry goes over to the door, looks at the people, and is like, ah, shit, it's a cop.
Yeah.
And
he hides Brian, the kid, in his back room or whatever, like his bedroom. And then he goes to the door, and who could it be other than
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken walks right in to the apartment.
He's like, hey, Larry, I heard about this case. A person with special needs who is the brother of a federal prosecutor has been kidnapped. Do you know anything about this? Yeah. And this is when Larry puts it together. Oh my gosh, this kid that we've kidnapped, Brian, is a brother of not just some guy who's been putting the heat onto the mob boss.
Yeah.
He's the brother of a federal prosecutor. So Larry kind of maintains his cool, and he tries to get through this interaction with Christopher Walken, playing dumb. A little bit of tension in the scene because you're like, okay, Brian could walk out at any moment.
Yeah.
And so Larry's doing his best to deflect. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Walken has...
But yeah, Christopher Walken, like, it reiterates again and again, like, it would be incredibly f***ing stupid for someone to do this. And it's like, yeah, man, you're right. But to your point, there is a lot of tension in the scene. Like, that scene is, like, fine in a vacuum, I think. Unfortunately, though, once he, like, gets through this conversation with Christopher Walken, we never interact with law enforcement at any other point in the movie. There is no more, like, even if you have it in the back of your head, realistically, like, there would be, you know, some, like, issues with law enforcement at these points in the movie. The movie's not smart enough to, like, add that tension to it.
Every plot point we've discussed so far is everything that's basically happened in this movie at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing has happened. Walken comes in the scene. It's like, okay, it's picking up. Nope. Walken also has a great little mini monologue about ice cream. He's like, I'm going to go down to Marie Callender's. I'm going to grab a slice of pie and some ice cream.
That's a pretty good impression.
Thanks, man.
Get me a big bowl. Pie, some ice cream on it. Good. Put some on your head. Your tongue would slap your brains out trying to get to it.
The next scene, Larry and Ricky take Brian out to grab a bite to eat. They're at like a Mexican restaurant. And one of my, if you want to know Justin Bartha's performance in a nutshell playing Brian, it's one shot in the film. And we just have to we can't describe it as much as we have to just show it.
Yeah.
But he's standing there munching a burrito and he's staring at a painted mural of a woman in a red bathing suit, just
Baywatch.
Drooling.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, his parody level performance of a person with special needs, like, can be summarized as like the Simple Jack character in Tropic Thunder.
Make me happy.
Where it's like an actor is really trying to nail this, portraying a person like this.
Yeah, it feels like it would be an example in a movie of what a bad impression of a person with special needs is. But this scene also is where we further solidify my disdain for J-Lo's character, because there's some kids that, like, turn up some music and it starts to kind of, I guess, overstimulate Brian.
And Larry's like, turn that down.
Yeah, turn that shit down, you know.
The kids are like, suck my nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And then J-Lo's like, don't do anything. Don't draw attention to yourself. Then she goes over there and gives this long, like, she scares the kid, right? But she gives this, like, crazy long monologue, still doing that slippery dialogue, like, slippery voice.
You ever heard of Tai Moi Chai? Once the thumb liquefies the eye, it is deftly and immediately replaced by the forefinger.
It's just such a long monologue that, like, is obviously to make her seem smart and well-rounded, but it's just annoying as hell. It's like the dialogue is way more heavy than it needs to be, to the point where it's like you could just have her do things. Obviously, don't have her gouge this kid's eye out, but, like, have her do something that shows you who she is as a person, as opposed to her just giving these long monologues that are just such a drag.
At this point, we've beaten it to death, but it's pretty clear one of our main pet peeves is the fake smart character that just says they're smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than doing anything intelligent. She's like, boys, have you learned your lesson? And they're all like, yes, ma'am. She struts back over to Larry. She's like, see, that's how you put the boys in their place. You would think at this point, Larry's like, you know what? I respect that. Like, she used her words, you know, to intimidate these boys and get them to turn off the music.
That would make sense narratively, yeah.
Narratively, this is a moment where he could have a little bit of growth, because so far he's using ableist slurs. He's verbally abusing a person with special needs. And this is just a good opportunity for Larry to have a moment of growth. And instead...
he picks up one of the kids' laptops and says,
Nice computer. Is suckmydick.com.
So as they're in the car, Larry receives a phone call, and it's from his mother. And so Larry's like, we got to make a quick pit stop at my mom's house. So we cut to a shot of a woman's ass cheek, and Larry is giving his mother her insulin shot.
She has a thong on.
She has a pink thong on. Super cute. Super cute.
Yeah.
She's the mom from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Sure.
It's good to see her again.
Yeah.
And then Brian knocks on the door because Larry's told them to wait in the car. Brian knocks on the door and it's like, I have to pee. I have to come inside and pee. And Larry's like, all right. He lets them in. And J-Lo comes in as well. And Larry's mom...
She's smitten with her. She goes, va voom. It's the superstar actress J-Lo in my humble abode.
She's like, you're so much hotter than the pieces of shit he normally brings over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she does say that. But then they have like a little back and forth, like, are you dating? You know, that sort of thing. Larry obviously says, she's a lesbian, Ma.
She's a lesbian.
And her mom's like, oh. Well, Ashante, you know, type beat.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, go ahead. What does she say?
She says, you know, I wasn't always Larry's mother.
I used to be quite experimental. You know?
And just starts hitting on J-Lo in front of Larry.
And J-Lo being like the like one-dimensional character that she is like into it.
She's eating it up.
Like, it just doesn't really track that like a normal human being would just be like so about like this one, because she like kisses her on the lips.
Yeah.
By the end of it,
Larry's mom leaves J-Lo with a great line as they're walking out. She says, you know, if you ever change your mind about being gay, like,
yeah, no, she's like
stay open mind.
Keep an open mind, kids. You know, implying that of course
she'll turn for Larry.
Yeah.
And his dumbass
Turning
hairdo.
for Larry. That's what they should have called the movie.
Turning for Larry. Turning for Larry has a ring to it. So they leave and go back to the house. Evening comes and Larry walks into the room and sees, I think what we both agree, this is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Larry walks in on Ricky, who's seductively performing yoga. I myself have taken yoga classes. Yeah. If I were to perform yoga the way she is performing yoga, with the amount of moaning and touching of myself, I would be kicked out of that yoga class.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like writhing on the floor. She's like, ah. And Larry walks in. I like to imagine it's like a Shark Tank pitch.
Yes.
He walks in and he's like, let me pitch you being straight.
Thank you, sharks. Yeah.
I'm asking for one crumb of in exchange.
So he's like trying to convince her essentially to go straight for him.
I know the guys you've been with obviously didn't know how to bring home the pearls when they were diving for oysters.
And what's the best way to do this, do you ask? Talk about how the pee-pee, the dick, is like the best thing in the most desired
biologically, evolutionarily speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to pleasing a woman, your girlfriends, they're at a natural disadvantage.
I don't know. It's very homoerotic in a way because he's describing how beautiful a pee-pee is, how desirable a pee-pee is. It's like, man, you really have thought about this quite a bit.
Well, and this is all in an effort to be like, women just can't, they don't cut it for other women. You know, they can't please you the way that a pee-pee can.
We've been biologically engineered to please women.
Yeah.
And
it's like Andrew Tate trying to, turn a woman straight.
Penis.
His monologue about the male pee-pee goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
And in response, J-Lo has one of the most powerful, dare I say, groundbreaking, moving monologues
inspiring
in all of film history.
Yeah.
She goes on like a 7-minute rant.
Yeah, an even longer monologue.
While still doing yoga and writhing.
Yeah.
She goes on a longer monologue describing why she enjoys munching. It is crazy.
Yeah.
It's the most insane, like, the screenwriter had to be like dripping sweat while he was writing this.
The orifice.
It's like the weirdest, most unhinged, erotic scene.
Delicious. Lips, sweet lips.
Definitely a guy wrote this, for sure.
As far as your famous penis goes, the penis is like some sort of bizarre sea slug or like a really long toe.
And she's like, you don't want to kiss a big toe, you want to kiss lips. And lips are of the mouth, but also they're of the vagina.
The mouth is the twin sister of the vagina.
That's her whole pitch.
That is what she says. And go ahead. I know you have a quote written down. Go ahead and give me the quote for how she lands this plane.
This is how she ends her monologue. There is no place anywhere that has been the object of more ambitions, more battles than the sweet, sacred mystery between a woman's legs that I am proud to call my pussy.
My pussy.
At this point, it's safe to say that Larry is bricked up.
Yeah.
He's now fully invested in like, I want to be with this woman, this lesbian woman. And that's like his mission at this point.
Yeah.
Lewis, his mob boss guy, calls him and says, hey.
First thing in the morning, I want you to send his thumb to James Dorff. Are you listening to this?
Yeah.
Cut off Brian's thumb and ship it to the federal prosecutor, who's his brother. And Larry's like, do I have to? And Lewis is like, yes, dimwit, like you have to. As they're kind of discussing what to do about the thumb situation, they hear a knock at the door. At this point in the movie, we've got a pattern of random one scene cameos. Yeah. We've had Christopher Walken, the detective, who we've never seen again, the mom character, who we've never seen again, and now our third and probably the best cameo we get in this entire film.
The most unhinged one for sure. So it's Ricky's ex-girlfriend who has stalked her to this apartment where she's doing a job, and she's of course appalled to find out that she is presumably with this man in this apartment. She assumes that Larry and Ricky are dating.
A fucking man?
And she loses it. They go back and forth. They fight for quite some time. She stands on a stool in Larry's kitchen, I believe, and she grabs a knife and I don't know what's like a buzzword on YouTube. I don't want to get shadow banned again, but she slits her own wrists.
Blood starts pouring down her wrists. She is attempting to unalive herself publicly in front of Brian, Ricky, and Larry because she's so in love with J-Lo's character. This is obviously very upsetting and crazy. And I'm like, the movie's like everything about the movie is going to change from this point on. Like it has to. Like a woman has just attempted to take her own life in Larry's kitchen. And no less than 15 seconds later, we are watching as she is now bandaged in a hospital.
Yeah.
Like that. Like that's her only contribution to the movie.
This is certainly not a turning point in the movie tonally, for sure. Because we get the second greatest scene ever to be on film, under only the yoga scene. Brian and Larry are sitting in the car, and Larry's just like gawking. He's male gazing, if you will,
through the window at Ricky.
At Ricky, and is like very turned on by her, very attracted to her, while she's like
comforting,
putting this like unalive attempted woman in a hospital bed. It's just like, I don't know. There are more important things going on right now, bro. You know. But he says something along the lines of, he says
she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Right. And then what does our boy Brian say in response?
Brian responds with, she is.
She's like the ones the Baywatch. Yeah. They make my penis sneeze.
Incredible. Incredible.
God bless you.
Thank you.
No, not you, stupid. When my penis sneezes, I say, God bless you. God bless you, penis.
They need a thumb because they got to ship a thumb off to this federal prosecutor. And so then, boom, they have an idea. Brain blast. Larry's like, why don't we just sneak into the hospital?
Go into the morgue.
And cut off a guy's thumb.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way that can backfire.
Not a bad plan.
No, it's not horrible. So they sneak into the morgue, and it's Brian and Larry. And as soon as Larry walks into the room where the cadavers are located, he sees, to me, what's the most disgusting detail of the movie. Some guy has just left his lunch in the same room, like a takeout lunch.
Yeah.
It's just sitting in a room surrounded by dead bodies.
Yeah.
But it's very convenient for Larry.
It's a freezer, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And Larry sees that there's a plastic knife there from the guy's lunch, like a clear plastic disposable knife is sitting there from the guy's lunch. And Larry's like, this seems like an appropriate tool to cut off a guy's thumb. So he picks up the plastic knife and he tells Brian, hey, turn your back. I don't want you to see this.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Larry crosses to the other side of the room.
starts sawing off the thumb with a plastic knife. And at this point, Brian is facing the other direction and he starts singing Baby Got Back.
AB waist and round things in your face. You get sprung. Want pull up tough because you notice that butt was stuffed. Because I'm long and I'm strong and I'm down to get that friction on. So, ladies, yeah. You want to roll my Mercedes? Yeah. So, turn around, stick out. Even white boys got to shout. Baby got back. We go.
They leave the morgue with the severed thumb and they go to the FedEx office to ship it off.
Long story short, J-Lo and the FedEx lady are vibing.
Yeah, they're having like a little romantic connection.
Like a flirt back and forth, right? And at this point, Larry gets pissed. Hey, dude, gamers rise up.
I told her how superior a pee-pee is. Why is she still doing this? I've told her multiple times how superior a pee-pee is. Evolutionarily and by,
hypothetically, for the sake of the argument, that my pee-pee is great.
She doesn't understand I have a wet-ass pee-pee.
Yeah, so this is all great.
Dude, he Shapiro's out, bro. He Shapiro's out.
Yes.
He tried to destroy her with facts and logic. He couldn't. And now she's lesbian flirting with the FedEx lady.
Yeah.
What a slap in the face.
Slap in the face with a penis, no less. Yeah. So at this point in the car, he references back to a time when she was like trying to get him to open up about his mental health and asks him what he's sad about. And in this scene, much later, he's like, yeah, you know what? I am sad. You know why I'm sad? Long story short, he's sad because she won't f him and because she's a lesbian.
We can't say it on YouTube. He drops the wildest slur we've ever heard in our entire lives.
The D word.
Iconic line.
Unattainable brick wall fucking Dicosaurus Rexi.
The next scene, they're laying on the bed together, and he's like, I don't even remember what he says, but like she just kisses him out of nowhere.
She starts kind of teasing him. I don't know why she's teasing him, but the tone in their relationship shifts. She's clearly into him now. She starts to like accuse him of being gay.
You know that thing we all did in like elementary school and middle school at most, where you're like, ask somebody like how their nails look. And if you go like this, that means you're masculine. If you go like this, that means you're feminine.
J-Lo, an adult lesbian woman, does this.
Yeah.
And she's like, you gay. Like, she starts like being like
she
look
calls
at
him
you.
the F slur.
She's like, look at you.
That's the one slur they don't drop in this movie.
Amazingly.
Are you gay?
No.
She kisses him. He says, you need a woman. And she says, I already got one.
Insinuating that not only is he gay, he's also a girl. You're a fucking girl. Bop. She's like, you suck. You're the worst. You're a piece of shit. Now keep kissing me. And he's kind of into this. I think he's maybe a little subby boy. He's like,
hey, don't yuck his yum.
I'm not going to yuck his yum, but I'm saying he's, he's kind of into this.
Yeah. She leans back on the bed. She like spreads her legs and says,
It's turkey time.
Huh?
Gobble, gobble.
They start having sex, and he finishes, and they're laying together after having sex, and Ben Affleck drops my favorite line in the movie.
God bless your penis.
And then
she's like, what?
And he goes, you wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it.
It's just like a thing between him and Brian.
Yeah.
Like, you
God.
son of a bitch, you got me.
Wouldn't get it.
Lewis calls and says, hey, Mr. Starkman, the guy that, is like our head honcho boss, he's in town. He wants to meet with you guys.
Yeah.
Just a quick detail that I love. We'll have to find the clip for this. Ricky and Larry are driving, just the two of them, to go meet Mr. Starkman, and they're in their car, and the guy who plays Lewis pulls up next to them with the most awesome look on his face. We just have to pull the clip. He rolls up next to them. He's already got his head turned. He's staring at them. And he's just going. And they go into the house to meet Mr. Starkman, played by none other than Al Pacino.
Yeah. So we get our fourth, I guess, little like cameo.
Random pop-in character who has nothing to do with the plot, basically.
And I will say probably the best. Because like,
by far.
I mean, Al Pacino, obviously, He's killing it. He's in his bag. He's playing like a mafia guy, you know.
Dude, he could do this in his sleep.
Yeah.
Pacino's obviously the man.
I think like at the very beginning of the scene, pretty much, he starts to allude to like how stupid the idea that Lewis had to kidnap this kid.
How dumb it is.
Yeah, how dumb this plot is. Like, do you really think that a federal prosecutor is just going to drop the charges
because you kidnapped his brother?
Yeah, it's like a very public case of this big mob boss, right? Like, that is so unrealistic. And Lewis obviously is an idiot for that. And for that reason, he shoots him in the head.
Yeah, Pacino just bomb. He pops one in Lewis's dome, turns to Larry and Ricky, and he's like, "Explain yourselves," kind of.
Which is like, immediately I'm like, this is not the movie I thought this was. Like, they just killed this man and like there's blood pooling on the ground.
It feels like a scene from like Goodfellas or something.
Yeah.
Like it's hardcore. Like it's gory,
Yeah.
it's intense.
This one scene
scene in this romantic comedy it's like, oh my, who changed the channel?
Yeah.
And the music makes this scene.
Oh my God.
Throughout the entire film, they've had this very sappy romantic comedy soundtrack kind of score underneath it. It's
sounds
been
like a hotel lobby type beat.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. It's like piano keys and it's like elevator music basically.
Yeah.
And we're watching this intense murder take place, and in the background it's just like da 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 da.
That would be the thing that you should do.
Ricky looks at Pacino and like talks their way out of being killed, and basically agrees like, "Hey, we'll return the kid to the facility we kidnapped him from, and you know it'll be like it never existed, right?"
Yeah.
And Pacino, I guess, just agrees to this.
I guess so, because we never see him again.
That's it. They're driving Brian back to the facility where they kidnapped him.
They stop at a gas station, right? And it's at this point that Ben Affleck is like, "Please be straight for me. We had sex and it was great.
I want to be with you forever and ever."
And she's like, "No, I'm gay, but like, you know," she said something like really stupid. Please read it aloud for the class.
"The whole man thing has never done it for me.
Oh my God.
But somehow you got through."
Somehow.
So as they're driving Brian back to the facility where they kidnapped him from, they see a movie being filmed on the beach, and Brian absolutely loses his shit.
Oh my God! Oh my God! What? Open! Oh my God! Oh my God! Open!
He's like, "It's the Baywatch! It's the Baywatch!"
Yeah.
Justin Bartha is just really, he has gone full tilt.
Mm-hmm.
He is in it at this point, screaming, losing his mind. Larry, seeing Brian lose his shit over what he thinks is Baywatch being filmed, is like, "All right, we'll pull over, kid. Like you can go explore a little bit.
You've taught me the meaning of Christmas. We can pull over for Baywatch."
And his heart grew 3 sizes that day. Pulls over, and then like they're all, sappily getting out of the car, and like a proud father, Larry's just like watching Brian be like,
He tries to like give him a pep talk too about like how to talk to girls or whatever.
Because there's a bunch of girls in bikinis on the beach.
That is why he wants to go to Baywatch, by the way.
The only character like trait that Brian has the whole movie is he's horny.
Yeah.
And the payoff for his character at the end is that he's just surrounded by women in bathing suits. And it's like that scene in like Homeward Bound where it's like, "Go on, boy, get." Like Brian is just, Larry's just standing there like watching him like, oh, like he's gonna go get laid. Like it's the weirdest tone for the end of a movie ever.
Yeah, and it goes on for like a half an hour. It's crazy.
The movie should end right at this point where it's like, that's where the movie ends. Is like they release Brian and the rest is left up to interpretation. There's a solid 20 minutes after this.
Yeah, I feel like as much as we've harped on the whole like turning her gay thing, I feel like if you just didn't have like once they have sex, just don't have that conflict. She's all in with him, right? They're together. If you just had that, I think that like would just make more sense for this movie. Obviously, I think that's stupid, but I feel like it would trim down like this ending that feels like it goes on and meanders for hours.
You have to wrap up so many loose ends that they haven't figured out. You have to wrap up her sexuality and her relationship with Larry. Yeah. You have to wrap up Larry's relationship with Brian, this kid that he's kidnapped. And they've had no growth or friendship build over the course of the film.
No.
It's just suddenly he's like, there's some girls in bikinis. Like, be free.
It's not even like at the end he is like, you know what? People with special needs are people and they should be treated with dignity. It's like, Go on, kid. Go touch some boobs.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Go, come on. Go touch some boobs.
It'll be good for you.
It's Larry goes over to a payphone and calls the police and basically is like, Brian's here at the beach. Come pick him up. Larry turns to Ricky and is like, take my car. Like, I guess he's just like, I'm going to walk from here. Like, he's like,
I'm going to probably get arrested.
I'm going to take it on foot. So he's released Brian into the crowd. He's releasing Ricky to go take his very nice car and just like drive off into the sunset. Ricky takes the keys and she goes and it's like, oh, they're not going to be together. It's like the bittersweet moment. We cut to Brian wading through the crowd. And they're all extras in this movie that's being filmed. And he's like, oh, I guess he's never seen women in bathing suits before. Because he's just like, like this is crazy. He sees one blonde girl in a bikini. I think she's kind of supposed to be like a pseudo Pam Anderson kind of person.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And he's like, she kind of looks like Pam Anderson. And we didn't discuss this, but all throughout the film, it's been established that Brian is really into women with Australian accents.
Yeah.
And it all kind of pays off here when she starts talking, and it's like she has an Australian accent.
Yeah, exactly. Come over here, you little dingo. Come on,
you little Brian, you little dingo. Nar.
And so they start kind of dancing together, and you just have the ubiquitous shot of like Brian, like just like by himself dancing in the crowd, like finally getting some action. What his character has been building to this whole time.
That PPB sneezing.
He looks in the camera and says, God bless you, penis.
That would have been.
That did not have it. That's where the movie should have ended. Yeah. Instead, Larry's hiking his way back to God knows where, and Ricky pulls up next to him.
She's just like, I'll give you a ride out of town. It's like, okay. You have like a relatively nice apartment in LA. You're just going to leave that for like no reason? Like, they're not hot on your trail, are they? Like, I don't know. You could have just, like you said, just have
leave
that
it
be
ambiguous.
Have them, yeah, exactly. Leave it ambiguous, or like show her driving away, so it's like this bittersweet and arguably more tasteful thing where it's like she couldn't change who she is for him, you know. But no, they don't.
He's like, let's ride off together into the sunset. They do, and that's the end of Gigli from 2003, starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
I got a confession. I think we're good together.
Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez.
Every relationship has a fallen account, huh?
That's right. God bless your penis.
There's a few things we should talk about, I think, with the reception of this movie and all that. We already established it's infamously bad.
Yeah.
I think that's been confirmed for both of us.
Yeah, and I don't really know necessarily like what people were saying about it at the time. Obviously, yeah, it's regarded as one of the worst movies of all time, up there with The Room.
It's also considered one of the biggest financial failures, in all of.
Do you know what the budget was for the movie?
I think the budget was close to. I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was close to $40 million.
Oh wow, and that's like a lot for this movie.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, I know that. So Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez both made about $12 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They both got paid roughly $12 million to be in this film. I know that the film made back roughly 10% of its budget.
That's crazy.
Which is like, for context, that's an abysmally bad performance.
Yeah.
For a movie to be considered successful generally in Hollywood, you need to make about 3 times your budget. And that's because you have the budget for the film and then you market the film.
Right.
It takes a lot of money to promote a movie. It takes a lot of money to make it.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah.
At the point when you make back 3 times your budget, you're like, okay, this has been a successful movie. This movie made back 10% of its budget.
I feel like that's more common now with just like the way, like the attitude people have towards like going to the movie theater and stuff. It's just like people don't go if it's not like a big tentpole movie, but that big of a flop in 2003, that's crazy.
Yeah, Ben Affleck's commented on it since, and it's been pretty clear from what we've seen in the press that there was a lot of studio interference with this movie. Martin Brest, who directed this film, is a pretty well-renowned director. He's made some classic films, and I would say this movie overall is very competently directed. It's not competently written.
Yeah.
Performances are lackluster, but the actual, I think about the scene with Pacino and the way they shot Pacino to make him look more menacing and things like that. Like the editing
Gave him a ponytail. That's scary.
Sick little ponytail.
Yeah.
The directing's fine.
Yeah.
It's just clear that this movie was tampered with heavily by the studios. And what I had read, I won't confirm this, but what I did read online was that the studio wanted to cash in on the chemistry they saw between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez or something.
I think it was probably just like their star power at the time.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think he was like kind of like a hot commodity at this point. And J-Lo, this was kind of when she was
peak.
Yeah, I think this was. Yeah, I think this was like peak popularity for J-Lo. They met on this set, and that's when they got together the first time back in 2001 when this movie was filmed. They got engaged. They broke up. He ended up marrying Jennifer Garner for a little bit. They got divorced, and then, of course, more recently,
back again.
He remarried J-Lo. He came back to Gigli, the Gigli chemistry. He came back to the pussy.
The main issue that I see with this movie, and I think you'll probably concur with me on this, is that it tries to do two polar opposite genres at the exact same time and bounce between them seamlessly.
It does not.
While also remaking Rain Man.
Yeah. That it's way too many things in the pot. You know, like you said, you have this like mob movie. You have iconic mob type actors like Al Pacino. You know, you have the scene where he shoots someone like that. In a normal like mafia movie would probably work, right?
You have them cutting off a guy's thumb in a morgue.
Yeah, which it's also like that's played as like the comedy aspect, right?
But why not just let that be funny? And why do you have to have the man with special needs start singing Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, you could just like have Ben Affleck's character go in and like it's like very silly that he's having.
Yeah, he's cutting it off with a plastic knife and it's not working.
We do not need to like also add the buffer of like this kid with special needs being the butt of the joke. Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, this movie like overtly steals from Rain Man. Like it's got a very similar premise. You're kidnapping a man with special needs from his home, and then you're going on a journey to hopefully learn that he is really a person, and you build a stronger bond with that individual. That's just ripped straight out of Rain Man. But I think it's important to compare and contrast this a little bit to Rain Man. And the primary difference and the reason that Brian's character is so bad and such a horrible portrayal is that he's not a person. He's a set of weird, quirky behaviors. Yeah. That's it.
Really, no one has any like positive growth in this movie. I mean, I don't feel like Larry learned anything. He's like, I got everything I wanted. And by being a dick.
Well, Ricky learned she can stomach having sex with a man.
Ricky learned that she might be bi. Yeah, sure.
Growth.
What do we think about it? What's your take?
Well, if we're going to rate it either dumpster fire, hidden gem, or so bad it's good, I'm going to go dumpster fire on this one, with the caveat that if they trimmed about half an hour from this movie, it'd be so bad it's good because it had so many funny lines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I'm probably leaning more towards like a so bad it's good because it's such a like uniquely horrible movie. Like we have again like these iconically distasteful scenes of like the yoga monologue, the pee-pee sneeze scene. Like there's a lot there, but I agree it is still a slog because of the stuff that like is around that.
This was a tough watch, man.
Yeah.
And I hope this wasn't a tough watch. That's what's that for a segue.
Let's hope that, yeah.
We appreciate you guys joining us for episode 7 of Big Name Bad Movie. We got some crazy good episodes coming down the pike, but all the real juicy stuff, all the real like, the real sink your teeth into it content is on Patreon. Patreon.com/bignamebadmovie to see a little bit more.
Thanks so much for watching, except for the people that made fun of my hair and my tattoos.
God bless you, penis.